floor to John.
Thank you, Brian. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making the time to let us present to you this morning. And we appreciate the opportunity that specialist financial advisors have given us. So I have a series of 11 slides to show you this morning. And the first slide, just to establish our credentials, is that we are, like specialist financial advisors, we're specialists in the retirement village sector. We've been doing this for 20 years now, and we've invested in over 20 villages throughout New Zealand. So we only focus on the retirement village sector, and we have provided a very good return for our 2,500 investors over that period, showing in the last 4 years a steady 8% per annum dividend. But today I want to give you some background, a very broad view of the Auckland residential property market, and then specifically talk to you about an opportunity that we have introduced through specialist financial advisors to an expanding village in Ori, or up here just north of Auckland. So, just if I press this one, Brian, you...
That's right, just...
Oh, look at that. New Zealanders have a love affair with residential property. In New Zealand, the value in 2017 of investments in residential property was $1.05 trillion. In commercial property, 200 billion. In New Zealand listed stocks, not much more than 10% of the value of residential property, and super funds even less than that. So New Zealanders for many, many years have prospered through residential property, and they've put a huge, our economy is hugely distorted because of this. And really, if you look at the fundamentals of why this is, firstly, New Zealanders came to New Zealand as migrants to acquire land. That was why the white man came to this country, because in Europe and Scotland and England, and Ireland, where most of them came from, they were excluded from landowning. So right from the early days of this country, owning your own land was a core value for Kiwis. And then as we went on post the Second World War, we had a long period in New Zealand of inflation. At one stage, my personal residential mortgage was costing me 15% per annum. That was the interest rate on a first mortgage. But my house was growing at a rate of 20+% per annum. So it encouraged New Zealanders to invest in residential property and mortgage themselves up. And the difference between the value of the property and the cost of the interest was always positive. So New Zealanders accumulated residential property wealth through what we called in those days farming inflation. We just rode the inflationary wave of residential property in this country. Now that has changed to a degree, but that fundamental psyche is embedded in the minds of Kiwis of my generation and up. My